Jack Reynolds was having a perfectly awful day even before the aliens decided to destroy Earth. The satellite dish on his ramshackle cabin needed adjusting again, which meant balancing on his rusty ladder while wielding tools that had seen better days sometime during the last administration. Not the previous administration. The one before that. "Come on, you piece of garbage," Jack muttered, smacking the dish with a wrench. A spark flew. The dish rotated 3 degrees. Jack's television inside suddenly blared to life. But instead of the fishing channel, a hologram materialized in his living room. Jack nearly fell off the ladder. He scrambled down and darted inside, where a tall, slender figure with iridescent skin stood flickering in his cluttered living room. Its head was oddly proportioned, with eyes set too far apart and a mouth that seemed to be in the wrong place entirely. "Greetings, planetary designation Earth 42b3, the creature said in a voice that sounded like a GPS navigator gargling mouthwash. "I am High Commander Zorn of the Galactic Consortium. This is your only notification that after careful evaluation of your species, we have determined that humans are too unstable, too unpredictable, and frankly too annoying to join our galactic community." Jack blinked. "Excuse me," the alien continued as if Jack hadn't spoken. "Therefore in exactly 7 Earth rotations, we will begin standard sanitization protocols. Consider this your eviction notice." "Eviction? Sanitization? What the hell does that mean?" Jack demanded. High Commander Zorn sighed dramatically. "It means, primitive one, that we're going to eradicate your species. Nothing personal. Well, slightly personal. Your music is particularly grating, and someone sent our supreme leader something called a rickroll. Diplomatic relations never recovered." Jack's brain struggled to process this. "You're going to destroy Earth because of a rickroll?" "Among other offenses. Your species' penchant for nuclear weapons, while still arguing about whether climate change is real, was also a factor." Zorn checked something that resembled a futuristic watch. "This message was intended for your world leaders, but apparently your communication systems are as primitive as your diplomacy. No matter. 7 days. The hologram flickered. "Wait," Jack shouted. "You can't just, we can and we will. Goodbye human. Enjoy your final week. I recommend your ice cream. It's the one thing your species got right." The hologram disappeared, leaving Jack alone in his living room. He stood frozen for a full minute before diving for his phone. He scrolled through his contacts and called the Pentagon, where he'd worked before his dishonorable discharge for punching a superior officer who suggested using nuclear weapons as a first resort deterrent. "Pentagon switchboard. How may I direct your call?" A bored voice answered. "This is Commander Jack Reynolds. Authorization code Sierra Tango Foxtrot uniform. I need to speak to General Mitchell immediately. Earth is under alien threat." A pause. "Commander Reynolds?" The Jack Reynolds, who was discharged for insubordination 3 years ago. The Jack Reynolds, who's been sending us weekly warnings about everything from alien invasions to the danger of artificial sweeteners. Jack gritted his teeth. "Yes, that Jack Reynolds. I'll make a note of your concern, sir. Have a nice day." The line went dead. Jack stared at his phone, then threw it across the room. "Great. Fantastic. The one time I'm actually right about the aliens, and nobody believes me." He paced his small cabin, mind racing. The government wouldn't listen. The media would think he was crazy. There was only one option. He'd have to save humanity himself. Jack grabbed his go bag, the one he'd packed for this exact scenario, though he'd always imagined the threat would be from the lizard people living beneath Denver International Airport. He paused at his desk, looking at the photo of his old team from his military days. His gaze lingered on 3 faces in particular. "Time to get the band back together," he muttered, grabbing his keys. "Earth may be screwed, but at least we're going down swinging." As he headed for his battered truck, Jack couldn't help but smile. After years of paranoia and preparation, he finally had a reason to use all those skills the military psychologist had called concerning and excessive. The aliens had no idea what they'd just unleashed. Humanity wasn't going quietly, and Jack Reynolds had been waiting his whole life for a fight this big. The first person on Jack's recruitment list lived in a greenhouse on the outskirts of town. Not a metaphorical greenhouse, an actual glass structure filled with plants that probably violated several international biohazard protocols. Dr. Vivian Morgan hadn't left her greenhouse in 3 years, not since the scientific community had laughed her out of academia for suggesting plants might have emotions. Jack had always thought she was brilliant. Eccentric as hell, but brilliant. "Jack Reynolds," she said when she opened the door, not looking surprised at all. Her wild hair was filled with what appeared to be small twigs, and her lab coat had suspicious green stains. "You smell like impending doom and bad decisions." "Nice to see you too, Viv." Can I come in? My azaleas don't like you, but my Venus flytraps are oddly fond of your energy. She stepped aside. You have 5 minutes before I need to sing to my experimental hybrid orchids. Inside, Jack explained the situation while Vivian watered her plants, occasionally stopping to whisper encouragement to them. Aliens want to sanitize Earth, she repeated when he finished. And you want me to help fight them because I'm the only xenobiologist you know who won't immediately have you committed. That's about the size of it. Vivian nodded thoughtfully, stroking a leaf that seemed to lean into her touch. Harold agrees we should help, she said, referring to the plant. He says extinction events are bad for photosynthesis. Jack didn't question this. So you're in, obviously. I've been preparing my whole career to meet aliens. Though I had hoped for first contact to involve less genocide and more cultural exchange. She grabbed a bag that was suspiciously already packed. The plants will be fine. They're quite self-sufficient when properly motivated. Next stop was finding Dexter Crash Williams, whose nickname was not ironic. If something could be flown, Crash could crash it, but he always walked away unscathed, making him simultaneously the worst and best pilot in military history. They found him teaching flight simulation at a local arcade, shouting instructions that would get any real pilot killed instantly. No kid, if the warning lights come on, that means go faster. Engine fires are just the machine telling you it's working hard. Jack cleared his throat. Still dispensing your unique brand of aviation wisdom, I see. Crash spun around, his face breaking into a grin that had charmed his way out of 17 court-martials. Jack attack, and Dr. Plant Whisperer. What brings my 2 favorite discharged military personnel to my humble establishment? Jack cut straight to the point. Aliens are going to destroy Earth in 7 days. We need a pilot. A pilot, or the best pilot. We need someone who can fly anything, including possibly alien technology we've never seen before. So the best pilot, Jack sighed. Yes, Crash. The best pilot. Crash immediately threw his arcade vest at a confused teenager. You're in charge now, kid. Remember, safety features are for cowards. He turned back to Jack and Vivian. When do we start? And please tell me there will be explosions. Knowing you, definitely explosions, Jack muttered. Their final recruit was the trickiest. Quinn. Just Quinn, no last name, no military rank, no official records, had dropped off the grid after hacking into the Pentagon to see if they were hiding anything cool. They hadn't found aliens but had uncovered 3 classified taco recipes and a surprisingly extensive collection of cat memes, which they promptly published online. Finding Quinn meant following a digital trail that led them to a coffee shop where every patron looked exactly the same, hunched over laptops, wearing headphones, drinking something that contained more sugar than coffee. How are we supposed to find Quinn in this sea of tech hipsters? Crash whispered. As if on cue, all the screens in the coffee shop flickered, then displayed the same message. Back table, under the potted plant. And Jack, your truck's check engine light isn't a liberal conspiracy. Get it fixed. The team made their way to the back where a figure sat surrounded by no fewer than 4 laptops. Quinn looked up, purple hair falling over one eye, and smirked. So Commander Paranoia finally got something right. Aliens, huh? Jack blinked. How did you? Please. I've been monitoring your communications since you tried to convince the government that breakfast cereal was sending subliminal messages. I intercepted the alien transmission this morning. Quinn closed their laptops in sequence. It's about time something interesting happened on this planet. You believe me? Jack couldn't keep the surprise from his voice. Of course. The encryption on that signal was far beyond current Earth technology. Plus, I've suspected aliens existed since I found those weird server farms in Antarctica running calculations that make quantum physics look like baby math. Quinn stood, revealing a backpack already packed. I've been ready for this day my entire life. Also, I have nothing better to do since I'm banned from every government server on the planet. Jack looked at his assembled team, a botanist who talked to plants, a pilot who crashed everything he flew, and a hacker with boundary issues. Against an advanced alien civilization with sanitization protocols. We're humanity's last hope, he said grimly. Crash threw an arm around Jack's shoulder. Look on the bright side, if we fail, no one will be alive to mock us for it. That's not helping, Jack muttered. I wasn't trying to help, Crash replied cheerfully. I was stating a fact. Now where are we going and what are we blowing up first? Vivian was consulting with a small succulent she'd brought along. Bernard suggests we start by understanding the enemy's weaknesses. Quinn was already typing away on a portable device. On it. If they communicated with Earth once, they'll do it again, and when they do, I'll be waiting to intercept. Jack looked at his unlikely team, and felt for the first time since the hologram appeared in his living room, a small spark of hope. Maybe, just maybe, humanity wasn't doomed after all. Then again, looking at his team more carefully, perhaps the aliens had a point about humans being unstable. The team set up headquarters in Jack's cabin, which quickly transformed from paranoid hermit's dwelling to paranoid hermit's dwelling with 3 more paranoid people in it. Quinn had rewired the satellite dish to intercept alien communications. Vivian had brought several plants that she claimed had excellent intuition about extraterrestrial biology, and Crash had somehow managed to obtain a small aircraft that he'd parked behind the cabin. "Don't ask about the plane," he'd said when he returned. "Let's just say the local airfield needs better security, and I need to stay at least 500 feet away from any FAA official." They gathered around Jack's kitchen table, which was now covered with maps, notebooks, and several of Vivian's plants strategically positioned as botanical consultants. "Okay," Jack said, pushing aside a fern that kept inching toward his coffee cup. "We know the aliens plan to sanitize Earth in 7 days. Any ideas on how to stop a technologically superior species with genocidal tendencies?" Quinn didn't look up from their laptop. "I've been analyzing the transmission signature. Their technology is advanced, but their cybersecurity is surprisingly lax. It's like they've never been hacked before. Probably because most species don't have lunatics like you," Jack muttered. Quinn grinned. "Exactly, humanity's greatest strength, we're unpredictably chaotic. Anyway, I've managed to intercept some of their communications. They're extremely logical, process-oriented beings. Their ships run on predictable patterns. They're also deeply sensitive to certain Earth substances." "Like what?" Crash asked, balancing a pencil on his nose. "Based on the medical scans I've found, they have severe allergic reactions to Quinn paused dramatically. "Peanut butter." There was a moment of silence. "Peanut butter," Jack repeated flatly. "Humanity's salvation is Skippy, and Jif, and the organic stuff." Quinn confirmed. "Something about the molecular structure sends their immune systems into chaos. It's like their kryptonite." Vivian was consulting with a small cactus. "Herbert agrees. He says plants have always known legumes would save the world someday." "Great," Jack said. "So we just need to what? Throw jars of peanut butter at their advanced spacecraft?" "Not quite," Quinn said. "But I've also discovered something else interesting. They find human entertainment painful, specifically reality TV shows. The few times they've monitored our broadcasts, their neural scans show actual physical discomfort when exposed to the Real Housewives or Keeping Up with the Kardashians. So our weapons are peanut butter and bad television," Crash summarized. "I've won fights with less." Jack paced the small cabin. "We need a delivery system, something to get both the peanut butter and the TV shows to their fleet." "I might have an idea," Vivian said, looking up from her consultation with Herbert the cactus. "What if we hack into their communication systems and broadcast our most mind-numbing reality shows directly to their fleet? Meanwhile, we could use the atmospheric dispersal system I designed for plant pheromones to aerosolize peanut butter particles into the upper atmosphere." Everyone stared at her. "What?" she said defensively. "Just because I talk to plants doesn't mean I don't have engineering skills. The broadcast might work," Quinn said slowly. "But we'd need access to a powerful satellite to transmit the signal." "I know a guy," Crash offered. "He owes me a favor after I didn't testify about certain activities involving a weather satellite, and a very specific message burned into his ex's lawn. And I've got about 300 jars of peanut butter in my apocalypse bunker," Jack added. When everyone looked at him, he shrugged. "What? It's calorie-dense and lasts forever. So our plan is to hack alien spaceships, broadcast The Bachelors to them, and shoot liquefied peanut butter into the sky," Jack summarized. "This is either the stupidest or most brilliant plan in human history." "Probably both," Quinn said cheerfully. "That's what makes it so human." They spent the next 24 hours preparing. Vivian modified her plant pheromone dispersal system to handle peanut butter, a process that involved a lot of swearing and peanut-covered equipment. Crash disappeared and returned with access codes to a private satellite facility, refusing to explain how he'd obtained them. Quinn hacked into streaming services to compile the most mind-numbing reality TV playlist possible. Jack coordinated their efforts while growing increasingly convinced they were all going to die. But as he watched his team work, he couldn't help but feel a strange sense of pride. They were chaotic, unstable, and wildly unpredictable, everything the aliens seemed to fear about humanity. "You know," he said, as they loaded the last of the equipment into Crash's borrowed plane, "even if this fails spectacularly, at least we're going out in the most human way possible, with a completely ridiculous plan that no rational species would ever attempt." "Exactly," Vivian agreed. carefully securing a potted plant in the co-pilot's seat. Ferdinand says that's our greatest strength. Aliens think logically, humans think weirdly, Quinn supplied. Creatively, Vivian corrected. Explosively, Crash added with a grin. Jack looked at his team of misfits, each brilliant in their own bizarre way. Let's go save the world with peanut butter and reality TV. As they took off in a plane that was definitely not rated for the equipment they'd loaded into it, Jack couldn't help but think that if this was humanity's last stand, at least they were staying true to form: chaotic, improbable, and completely unpredictable. The aliens wouldn't know what hit them. Whether that was a good thing remained to be seen. The satellite facility looked like what would happen if a tech billionaire and a Bond villain had a corporate baby, all gleaming metal and dramatic architecture in the middle of nowhere. Crash landed the plane with surprising gentleness, which immediately put everyone on edge. "What?" he asked as they all stared at him. "I can land normally when the situation calls for it. That's actually more concerning than your crashes," Jack muttered as they unloaded their equipment. Security was minimal, just 2 bored guards who Vivian approached with a potted plant. "Excuse me," she said sweetly. "Could you hold Herbert for a moment? He needs human connection." The confused guards took the plant, which immediately released a cloud of pollen that left them sneezing uncontrollably while the team slipped past. "Did you just weaponize a cactus?" Jack asked as they hurried down a corridor. "Herbert volunteered," Vivian replied. "He's always been a bit of an anarchist." Quinn led them to the control room, fingers flying over keyboards as they bypassed security protocols. "I need 10 minutes to hack into the satellite controls and reroute the signal." "You've got 5, Jack said, watching the security monitors. "Those guards will stop sneezing eventually." Crash was examining the satellite schematics on the wall. "So once we broadcast the reality shows, how exactly do we disperse the peanut butter?" "I've modified this dispersal unit to aerosolize the peanut butter and release it through the facility's atmospheric testing ports," Vivian explained, patting a device that looked like a pressure cooker attached to a leaf blower. "It should create a cloud of peanut particles in the upper atmosphere." "Should?" Jack questioned. "Science is about educated guesses, Jack," Vivian said primly. "And Ferdinand thinks it'll work." "Ferdinand is a ficus," Jack pointed out. "A ficus with excellent intuition about aerosol dynamics." Before Jack could argue further, Quinn shouted triumphantly, "I'm in. Satellite control is ours. I can broadcast whatever we want directly to the alien fleet. Start with Real Housewives, then transition to toddlers and tiaras," Jack instructed. "If that doesn't incapacitate them, nothing will." Quinn began the broadcast while Vivian connected her peanut butter dispersal system to the facility's atmospheric ports. For a moment, everything seemed to be working perfectly. The satellite dish adjusted, sending streams of reality TV into space. The dispersal unit hummed as it began pumping peanut particles into the atmosphere. "We did it?" Crash asked incredulously. "We actually did it. And that's when everything went wrong. First, the peanut butter dispersal unit made a sound no machine should ever make. Somewhere between a blender full of rocks and a cat learning to play the bagpipes. Peanut butter sprayed everywhere except into the atmospheric ports. Minor calibration issue," Vivian shouted, covered head to toe in Skippy. Then the satellite connection fizzled, screens filling with alien text. "They're blocking us." Quinn's fingers became a blur on the keyboard. "They've got better firewalls than I anticipated." Finally, the facility's alarms blared as the doors to the control room slid open. But instead of security guards, 3 tall shimmering aliens stood in the doorway, looking simultaneously elegant and annoyed. "Oh crap," Jack whispered. "Humans," the middle alien said in that same GPS gargling mouthwash voice Jack had heard before. "Your attempt to defend yourselves is both primitive and sticky." He looked pointedly at the peanut butter covering everything. "Hi Commander Zorn." Jack stepped forward. "We were just attempting to use our allergies against us. Yes, we detected your peanut-based weapon. Fortunately, we came prepared." The aliens were wearing what appeared to be hazmat suits. "And your psychological warfare." Zorn shuddered delicately. "Those housewives are truly disturbing, but our systems blocked most of the transmission." Jack tried to think of something heroic to say, but before he could, Crash launched himself at the aliens with a battle cry of "peanut butter jelly time." He was immediately immobilized by some kind of energy field and floated, still yelling, 3 feet off the ground. One by one they were all captured and transported to what could only be an alien ship, a massive structure hovering above Earth's atmosphere, clinically white and meticulously organized. They were brought to a command center where dozens of aliens worked at stations that resembled nothing so much as Apple stores in space. High Commander Zorn sat in an elevated chair, looking down at them with an expression that might have been smugness, though it was hard to tell with the oddly placed mouth. Your resistance was impressive for such primitive beings, Zorn said, pacing in front of them, illogical, chaotic, and ultimately doomed to failure, but impressive nonetheless. This is precisely why the consortium has deemed your species too dangerous to join galactic society. Because we fight back, Jack demanded. Because you fight back in ways that make no sense, Zorn corrected. Logical species are predictable. You, he gestured at their peanut butter-covered forms, are not. You use foodstuffs as weapons. You create entertainment so painfully inane it causes physical distress. Your pilot attempted to attack 3 armed aliens while shouting about sandwich ingredients. To be fair, that's just Crash, Jack said. The rest of us would have shouted something more dignified. Like what? Quinn whispered. I don't know. For humanity or something. For humanity is so cliché, Vivian complained. I would have gone with photosynthesis forever. Zorn's eye stalks twitched in what appeared to be extreme irritation. This is exactly my point. You cannot even coordinate your battle cries. Your species is too chaotic, too unpredictable. The sanitization will proceed as planned. On a massive screen they could see the alien fleet positioning itself around Earth, weapons powering up. We're too late, Quinn whispered. Jack looked at his team, covered in peanut butter, defeated, but still defiant in their own weird ways. Vivian was whispering to a small sprout she'd somehow kept hidden in her pocket. Crash was eyeing the alien technology with the look of a man wondering how spectacularly he could crash it. Quinn was silently mouthing calculations, eyes darting from system to system, and suddenly, Jack knew exactly what to do. You're right, Commander Zorn, he said loudly. Humans are unpredictable, but you haven't seen anything yet. Zorn turned to him, eye stalks quivering with curiosity. What do you mean, human? Jack smiled slowly. What you've seen so far. The peanut butter, the reality TV, that was us being nice. High Commander Zorn's eye stalks quivered with what might have been amusement, or possibly indigestion. Being nice. You attacked us with sandwich spread and programs about surgically enhanced females throwing beverages at each other. Exactly, Jack said, stepping forward. That was us being polite. You see, Commander, what you don't understand about humans is that we've been holding back. For millennia, we've been pretending to be civilized. Zorn scoffed, a sound like a dial-up modem trying to connect. Your species still engages in warfare over resources and imaginary lines on your planet's surface. Oh, that's just practice, Jack said confidently. You think you know humans because you've observed us. You don't know the half of it. The alien commander leaned forward, clearly intrigued despite himself. Explain. Jack began to pace, nodding subtly to his team. Quinn immediately understood, their eyes darting to a nearby console while Vivian clutched her plant more tightly. Crash simply smiled, which was concerning in itself. Humans, Jack continued, are the only species in the known universe that will watch a sign that says wet paint and immediately touch the surface to check if it's really wet. We're the species that created devices smart enough to answer any question, and we use them to argue with strangers and watch videos of cats. We're the species that will work 40-hour weeks to afford therapy for the trauma caused by working 40-hour weeks. Zorn blinked his multiple eyes in sequence. Your point. My point is that we thrive on chaos. Logic is just something we invented to make other species feel better about themselves. And when truly threatened, Jack paused dramatically, we get really creative. As if on cue, Vivian's plant suddenly bloomed, releasing a cloud of pollen that caused the nearest aliens to sneeze violently, their hazmat suits proving ineffective against this unexpected botanical assault. What is happening? Zorn demanded, backing away from the sneezing fits spreading among his crew. Ferdinand is a hybrid species I created, Vivian explained proudly. Part peanut plant, part Venus flytrap, part something I probably shouldn't have combined in my greenhouse at 3 a.m. during a full moon. He's been building up pollen reserves this whole time, while the aliens were distracted by the sneezing epidemic. Quinn had sidled up to a control panel. You know what your systems have never encountered before, Commander? A human virus. Not a computer virus designed by humans, a virus made of humans. Quinn slammed their hand onto the alien equivalent of a USB port, and the ship's systems flickered. I injected myself with nanobots before we left. They've been recording and analyzing every piece of data they could access. Now they're in your systems, doing what humans do best, causing chaos. The ship's lights flickered as displays began showing everything from cat videos to episodes of Ancient Aliens to recipe tutorials for peanut butter cookies. What have you done? Zorn shrieked as his crew frantically tried to regain control of their systems. Introduced a little humanity to your perfect system, Quinn said with a grin. Your technology is trying to process our illogic. It's like trying to divide by zero, it just doesn't compute. Meanwhile, Crash had somehow freed himself from his restraints and was examining the alien ship's controls with the gleeful expression of a child who's just discovered matches. You know, he called out to Zorn, your ships are pretty impressive, very sleek, very efficient, but they're missing something essential. What's that? Zorn asked, distracted by the spreading chaos. Cup holders, Crash replied, before slamming his fist onto what appeared to be the ship's equivalent of a steering wheel. Alarms blared as the ship tilted sharply to one side. Also, I just disengaged the stabilizers, but mostly the cup holders. Where do you put your drinks? The aliens were in full panic mode now, divided between trying to contain the sneezing epidemic, purge Quinn's human virus from their systems, and prevent Crash from turning their ship into his latest crash site. Jack calmly walked up to Zorn, who was frantically trying to restore order. See, Commander, this is what makes humans dangerous. We don't follow your rules, we don't think like you think. We look at a superior alien force and think, I bet I could annoy them into submission. You're insane, Zorn whispered, a hint of fear in his voice. No, Jack corrected. We're human, and we haven't even started getting nasty yet. As if to prove his point, Vivian's plant, Ferdinand, had now grown to 3 times its original size, feeding on the ship's artificial light and whatever alien nutrients it could absorb through its rapidly extending roots. It was wrapping tendrils around control panels, and occasionally snapping at passing aliens. My baby's growing up so fast, Vivian cooed proudly. Your plant is consuming our ship, an alien technician shrieked. He's just going through a growth spurt, Vivian said defensively. He's at that age. Quinn had managed to take control of the ship's communication systems, and was broadcasting directly to the alien fleet. Attention all vessels, your commander has been defeated by humans using only a plant, some computer code, and a man who thinks safety features are for wimps. We recommend immediate withdrawal, unless you want to see what happens when we actually try. Zorn looked at Jack with something approaching respect. You created this level of chaos with just 4 humans. 4 particularly weird humans, Jack admitted. Imagine what 7 billion of us could do if properly motivated. On the main screen, they could see the alien fleet hesitating, communications flying back and forth as they tried to decide how to respond to this unprecedented situation. You should know, Jack added conversationally, that humans have a saying, fuck around and find out. You've done the first part, do you really want to do the second? Zorn looked at his command center, now covered in pollen, with a giant plant consuming the navigation system, displays showing everything from cooking shows to quantum physics lectures, and Crash somehow managing to put the ship into what appeared to be a slow spin. Perhaps, Zorn said slowly, the consortium was hasty in its judgment. Perhaps, Jack agreed, you should reconsider your sanitization protocols. High Commander Zorn looked at the humans, covered in peanut butter, controlling his ship with methods that defied all logic, and apparently having the time of their lives while doing it. For the first time in his long career as a galactic conqueror, Zorn did something unprecedented. He surrendered. The journey back to Earth was surprisingly pleasant, considering they were aboard a partially plant-consumed alien vessel piloted by a man whose previous flights had all ended in spectacular crashes. Crash had, against all odds, managed to land the alien ship in a cornfield in Iowa, with only minimal damage to the surrounding acres. I don't understand, an alien technician whispered to another, as they disembarked. He deliberately landed in the crops. He could have used the empty field next door. I wanted to make a crop circle, Crash explained, overhearing them. It's tradition. Aliens are supposed to leave crop circles. We've never made crop circles in our lives, the technician said, confused. Well, someone's been making them, Crash replied with a wink. And now you guys get the credit. You're welcome. The alien ships hovered above major cities around the world, but instead of raining down destruction, they broadcast a universal message. Attention, residents of Earth. The Galactic Consortium has reassessed your species status. Earth is now categorized as approach with extreme caution, contains humans. We will be leaving your solar system shortly. Please do not follow us. In a classified location, representatives from Earth's governments had gathered to meet with High Commander Zorn and his delegation. Jack and his team had been invited as special consultants, though they were seated at the far end of the table, and had been specifically instructed not to touch anything. Let me get this straight, the President of the United States said, looking bewildered. You came to destroy us, but you're leaving because 4 random civilians annoyed you into submission. Not random civilians, Zorn corrected. a paranoid ex-military commander, a botanist who creates weaponized plants, a pilot with no regard for physics or self-preservation, and a hacker who turned themselves into a biological computer virus. If these are your civilians, we do not wish to meet your soldiers. Jack couldn't help but feel a surge of pride as his team was described in terms that would normally warrant psychological evaluation. We have revised our assessment of humanity, Zorn continued. You are not merely unstable, you are dangerously brilliantly unpredictable. Our simulations predicted a 99.97% chance of your immediate surrender when faced with our technology. Instead, you attacked us with sandwich ingredients and television programming, and a plant named Ferdinand, Vivian added helpfully. Several government officials glared at her. Yes. Zorn's eye stalks twitched. The plant, which is currently being contained at your botanical research facility, and has already developed rudimentary telepathy. He grows up so fast, Vivian whispered, wiping away a tear. The Secretary of Defense cleared his throat. So what happens now? Is Earth joining this galactic consortium? Absolutely not, Zorn said quickly. Too quickly. That is, the consortium believes Earth would benefit from a probationary period. Perhaps a few thousand years of observation before integration. In other words, Jack translated, you're terrified of what would happen if humans got access to advanced alien technology. The last thing the galaxy needs is a species that thinks like you do with the ability to travel freely between star systems, Zorn admitted. You would probably use our hyperdrives to deliver pizza across galaxies or turn black holes into tourist attractions. Would that be possible? Crash asked, suddenly interested. The black hole tourism thing, not the pizza delivery. Although both sound profitable, this is exactly what I mean, Zorn said, gesturing frantically at Crash. This is why we're leaving. After the official meeting concluded, Zorn approached Jack's team privately. I have been authorized to offer you a warning and a compliment, the alien commander said formally. The warning is this: we will be monitoring Earth. Should you ever develop interstellar travel, the consortium requests advance notice so we can evacuate nearby systems. And the compliment? Quinn asked. In 12,000 cycles of consortium expansion, yours is the only species that has ever defeated us using breakfast spreads and poorly scripted entertainment. It is impressive, in a deeply disturbing way. Jack extended his hand, which Zorn regarded suspiciously before cautiously shaking it. No hard feelings about the whole sanitizing Earth thing. Your species holds grudges too, I assume, Zorn asked. Oh, absolutely, Jack assured him. But we also appreciate a good story, and the time we annoyed aliens into leaving Earth alone is going to make us legends. Legends, Zorn repeated, testing the word. Yes, that is how your species will be described in consortium space, along with many warning labels. After the aliens departed, life on Earth returned to something resembling normal with remarkable speed. Most people treated the whole incident as just another strange event in an already bizarre world. Within weeks, alien-themed peanut butter brands had hit the market, and reality TV shows about alien encounters topped the ratings. Jack's team was debriefed, sworn to secrecy, and then promptly ignored by their own government, which decided the whole incident was too absurd to acknowledge officially. So that's it, Crash asked as they sat in Jack's newly rebuilt cabin, now significantly improved thanks to a generous consultation fee that had mysteriously appeared in all their bank accounts. We save the world and get sent home. Would you rather be doing press conferences? Jack asked. God no, Crash shuddered, but a parade would have been nice. Quinn was already busy on a new laptop. I kept some of the alien code. Nothing weapons related, just their entertainment database. Did you know they have something like television, but it's all documentaries about efficient resource management? No wonder they found our reality shows traumatizing, Vivian mused, watering a small plant that looked suspiciously like a miniature version of Ferdinand. Jack looked around at his team of misfits, now bonded by the shared experience of having annoyed an advanced alien civilization into retreat. You know the world is probably going to need us again someday. For the alien return, Quinn asked. Or something else equally ridiculous, Jack replied. The point is, humanity's greatest defense isn't our weapons or technology. It's the fact that we're completely unpredictable. So what you're saying, Crash summarized, is that our greatest strength is that we're a bunch of chaotic weirdos who don't make sense. Exactly, Jack raised his beer in a toast. To humanity, the species so bizarre that even aliens want nothing to do with us. To humanity, they echoed. Outside beneath the stars that now seemed both more crowded and more cautious than before, Earth continued its orbit, blissfully unaware that it had just gained a reputation as the galaxy's Florida, a place fascinating from a distance, but best approached with extreme caution, and preferably a hazmat suit. And somewhere in deep space, High Commander Zorn was filing a report that would ensure Earth remained undisturbed for generations to come. The report contained only 4 words: humans, not worth it.